Dozens of scriptures predict the Jewish people will return from the entire world to their ancient homeland. History demonstrates that their return from this global diaspora began to be fulfilled in the 20th century and continues to be fulfilled today. The book of Deuteronomy was written between 1300 and 1500 BC. In its pages, you can read the history of the Jewish people in advance. In Deuteronomy chapter 28 we read, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." According to this prophecy, the Jewish people would be scattered from one end of the earth unto the other. About 1500 years after these words were written, the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. This began the second Jewish exile. Hundreds of years later, this dispersion took them from one end of the earth unto the other, as Moses predicted. And Moses also predicted their return from this global exile. In Deuteronomy chapter 30 we read, "That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers." The fulfillment of this prophecy has been occurring for the past 70 years or more. The second Zionist movement, the second time the Jews have returned to their promised land, began in the 20th century and continues today as you are watching this video. Without question, the Jews are returning from the entire world as the Bible predicted. The prophet Isaiah made an amazing prediction about the history of the Jewish people. He wrote that Israel would return to their promised land 2 distinct times. History testifies that Isaiah foresaw the future. In Isaiah chapter 11 we read, "And it shall come to pass in that day, that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth." This scripture plainly teaches that the remnant of Israel would return to their homeland again the second time. Any encyclopedia will verify the historic reality of Isaiah's words. Jews were exiled from their homeland twice, and they have returned twice. The first return of the Jewish people to their homeland began about 70 years after Isaiah was written. The Encyclopedia Americana calls their return from the Babylonian captivity the first Zionist movement. We read, when Cyrus the Great, founder of the Persian Empire, captured Babylonia, 538 BC, he permitted the captive people to return to their homelands and rebuild their temples. With that act began the first Zionist movement in Jewish history. Of course, Zionism is a well-known term for the right of return of the Jewish people to the land also called Palestine. Yet Isaiah wrote that his people would return to this land a second time, and from the four corners of the earth. We read, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people from the four corners of the earth. The Encyclopedia Americana again verifies Isaiah's words. We read, at the beginning of the 20th century, only a handful of Jews lived in Palestine, and the people who were to constitute Israel's population existed in no place as a national entity. They gathered in Palestine from the four corners of the earth under the aegis of the Zionist movement. The second return of Jews to the land of Israel is an ongoing event. The Bible and Jewish tradition teaches that the Messiah himself will complete the second return when he comes. Now, let us consider this evidence. About 1500 BC, Moses predicted that Jews would be scattered into the entire world and return to their ancient homeland. About 1500 years later, Jews began to be scattered from their homeland after Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD. Yet it was not until hundreds of years after this date that this diaspora took them from one end of the earth unto the other. Then, in the 20th century, Jews began returning from the entire world as Moses predicted. This second return is still in the process of occurring today. The fulfillment of the prophecies of Israel's return is beyond coincidence, and demonstrate that the Bible was written by the direction of God.